All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Pretty soon, the partial government shutdown could affect every tax-paying American if it drags on any longer. Currently, most IRS workers are staying home on furlough. Only 1 in 8 workers are going in. This could lead to a delay of tax refunds getting sent. However, the IRS will still collect money from people who owe, with tax season beginning later this month. Here to explain what we need to know from Wealth and Advisory Associates, Paul Murray. Paul, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This sounds like a scary situation for a lot of families in our area.
It's scary. It's a bad deal for Americans, bad deal for the economy too. But to your point, most low-income Americans try to file their taxes early because they rely on those refunds to pay off debts from the previous year and to fund household expenses. So the reality is, this is really throwing them in financial jeopardy.
So we're still required to file our taxes, but then what happens?
Well, the IRS has an emergency shutdown plan, which has determined that the payment of refunds is non-essential. So you have to file your taxes, but when you actually get your refund is a matter of debate at this point.
And that's easy to say in Washington, harder for people here in Philadelphia who feel the effects of it, because it's essential money for a lot of people in our city.
Yes, people plan for that. They pay off debts from the previous year. They fund their household expenses, but also retailers. I mean, we have a very fragile economy right now. If people don't go out and spend those refunds, we could wind up in a recession.
When we think about the effects of this, because a lot of times it doesn't really affect people until it hits their wallet.
Right.
You and I are just chatting briefly about the SNAP program, which is the modern day food stamp program. That's even affected for some families.
It is, and I think that there are a lot of unintended consequences with this government shutdown, and that SNAP program in particular is being addressed right now because people simply need food stamps, and I think people on both sides of the aisle agree that that has to be dealt with. But I think Americans have to plan for government shutdowns being a negotiating tactic on a going forward basis.
Do you think people really understand? I know in your line of business we hear the word wealth, but we also know the word poverty really well in Philadelphia, unfortunately. Do you think that many times these partisan conversations are going on, we're really thinking about the people who are affected at the end of the day?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is a perfect example. I mean, I'm sure that the people who are negotiating using a government shutdown were not planning on the fact that people were not going to get the refunds that they're expecting to fund their lifestyles and to take care of their families. But that's what happens. People are not thinking about the American public.
What do you think happens moving forward, looking at the big picture here for most of us? Do you think this is going to get resolved quickly, or do you think we're going to be in this for a while?
Well, I think we could be in it for a while, but Americans actually can take some action. What they can do is to plan during the tax year that they're talking about to not overpay their taxes. When you get a refund, you're giving the government a loan. You're overpaying on your taxes, and they can determine when you actually get your refund. That's a bad deal.
I think a lot of people are confused about that. I'm glad you brought it up, because people think they get this huge lump sum of money, but you never really get back fully what you were taxed and taken away from you.
Well, you kind of get back the overpayment that you made, but the key is that a lot of people make the mistake of overpaying the taxes, and then that essentially is what a refund is all about. You gave the government a loan, you gave them more money than they really required, and they have to give it back to you. The only issue at this point is, going forward, when are they going to give it back to you?
How do you right that wrong? How do you fix that? Is it just paperwork?
It's planning. It is planning your deductions during the year. You keep more dollars in your paycheck today and not be reliant on the tax refund in the next tax year.
So unfortunate that we're going through this, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you. You were great.
Thank you.
Enjoyed talking to you. Are you an Eagles fan?
You bet. Go Birds.
I know, right? So thousands of people flocked to Chicago today to cheer on our Eagles as the team prepares for a 4th victory in a row. We share our final score predictions. Let's see if you agree.